History 1. When my grandfather found a demon. My mother tells this story to me and my brothers for years, and every time I hear, I feel shiver through my spine. She was very young when this happened, probably between 7 and 10 years old, as it was in the 1980s. At the time, she lived in Harris County, Texas, along with my grandfather, who had served in the Special Forces. The house where they lived was next to another residence, and it was in this place that something strange happened. My mother and brother, my uncle, used to play in the front backyard and always saw a man sitting in a rocking chair on the porch of the house next door. Every day, without exception, he was there. One day, my mother's father decided to approach to meet him. He left the house, walked to the neighbor's balcony, introduced himself, and started talking to him. During the conversation, the man made an unexpected invitation, saying he wanted to show something. Although hesitant, my grandfather decided to accept. They entered the house and soon realized that the interior looked abandoned and ruined, but did not pay much attention to it. The man guided him to the basement, and when they got there, in the center of the room, there was a table with a plate of chicken thighs. The host suggested that they both felt and start eating. After a few minutes, when they finished the meal, the man looked at him and asked, "Want to see something impressive?" Once again, my grandfather hesitated, but decided to see what would happen. The man then raised his hand over the plate and began to move it strangely. To his astonishment, the chicken thigh bones began to float and move as if they were dancing. It was then that the man revealed something scary. He said, "If you want this power, you will have to sell your soul to the devil." At the same moment, my mother's father felt a chill and ran out of the house as fast as he could. After that day, the man simply disappeared. Intrigued, my grandfather decided to investigate and return to the house. When he arrived in the basement, he found a pentagram carved on the floor. However, the residence was completely empty, with no signs that someone lived there. He questioned the neighbors about the man, but everyone said that the house had been abandoned for years and that no one has lived there. From that moment on, my mother's father never approached that house. History 2. I have heard things. I am convinced that I am being observed. Hey guys, I am looking for advice, or perhaps someone who has gone through something similar. I will tell you what happened to me and then share some additional details. Last week, around 1 p.m., I was lying in bed relaxing when I first heard it. It was a repetitive sequence of high, 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 high. The voice seemed mechanical, almost automated. I live in a college house with 4 more girls, and the walls are incredibly thin. I thought some of them were preaching a piece on me, maybe wearing a speaker, so I didn't give much importance. The second time happened around 10:30 a.m. I had just woke up when I heard the same thing, repeating high 4 or 5 times. Instantly, I sent a message to my bedroom colleague, which is upstairs, as we share a ventilation system and sometimes we can hear sounds from each other's room. But to my surprise, she was completely confused and scared of the question. I was trying to find a logical explanation. Was it a toy of my cat? A sound coming from TV? I was still trying to find out when it happened again. This time, it was in the middle of the afternoon. Around 4 p.m., I was sitting at my desk, makeup to go to class, when the sound was repeated. But this time, it was much higher and lasted more time. There were about 10 repetitions in a row. I froze with fear and shock, and quickly started recording a video on my iPhone. I managed to capture one of the high before the sound stopped abruptly. Startled, I ran to my home colleague's room and showed them. The Video. The strangest of the 5 girls who live with me. I'm the only one who heard this sound. All were confused, not knowing what to think. Here are some facts that can help understand what is happening. My room is very minimalist, with just one bed, TV, nightstand, desk, and a mirror. I have nothing strange on the walls, no watches or devices that could emit this sound. All these objects have been in my room since September or October. I had never heard that noise before. I have a TV with an Amazon Fire Stick, but I checked all the voice call settings by voice, and they are all disabled. Even when I tested this function, the sound was nothing like what I heard. I have a Google Home Watch next to my bed. It's been 5 years since I have it, and he has never emitted any such sounds. Now it's off. It does not look like Siri's voice or those common messages from connected devices via Bluetooth. The sound is more mechanical, stuffy, but high enough to look like a speaker. If I had to describe, I would say it looks more like a male than feminine voice. I have not yet contacted the owner of the house. No strange or suspicious person entered the house, much less in my room. We had a recent visit from a maintenance employee, but he was just upstairs. My room is in the basement of the house, and so far, I am the only one who has gone through this experience. I already looked around my window, inside and outside the bedroom, and found nothing that could be emitting this sound now. Hidden speaker, not suspicious. Has anyone been through something similar? Any idea what may be happening? History 3, almost closed by strangers in a van. I was 14 years old. My 2 cousins, Melissa and Sophie, had 13 and 9 at the time. Today, I have 32. I grew up in Oak Ridge, in the middle of the mountains, surrounded by nothing but wild nature. My cousins spent the summer and spring holidays at my grandfather's house, which was next to my house, so we saw each other quite often. We used to climb mountains and walk the road, always exploring the surroundings. One of our favorite routes led us to what we called the first new house, a milestone in our region, as someone had built a modern house about 1 kilometer from where we lived, which was unusual as most houses were old. There was a completely open stretch of 1 kilometer without houses or any structure. One day we decided to take a walk, and halfway we saw a white van parked by the roadside near the stream with no one around. I was suspicious and said to Melissa and Sophie to be close to me because that scene was not common. We continued our walk to the first new house, and when we returned, the van was still there. But this time, 2 men were inside her, staring at us without blinking. Her looks were cold and empty, which caused a shiver to go up her spine. I whispered for Melissa to hold Sophie and run as soon as possible. As soon as we started running, the men turned on the van and started following us. We managed to reach the yard of the neighbors, where there was a stream before the entrance. Without thinking twice, I played Sophie a hill below the stream and said Melissa to jump too. I kept running. My knee was weak, and I knew that if I jumped, I couldn't run anymore, so I risked following the road. Luckily, my father was on the bridge of our property when he saw me coming desperate. Shouting, I told him that 2 men had tried to capture us. As he spoke, the van slowly passed the road, and the 2 men gave me a look that I can only describe as a malevolent, completely devoid of emotion. My cousins were fine. Sophie had some cuts because of the thorns when I played it down, but nothing serious. After that, we never saw that van. We noticed that the sign was covered and that the van had no windows except those in the front. It was evident that these men had bad intentions. Fortunately, we leave this unharmed. History 4. The man without legs. Hey guys, I'm from Burma, Myanmar. I'm 15 years old, and I'm still at school. I live with my mother, my younger brother, and his uncles. Our house is very comfortable and spacious, but we divide it with neighbors, being separated only by fine walls. Last night, I was awakened by the insistent bark of my dog. Something clearly was bothering him. A little sleepy, I got up and went down to check what was happening. Our house has a large iron gate and a spacious backyard, so we need to open some locks before leaving. I think it was 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. when I started hearing beats at the gate. I grabbed my cell phone and turned on the flashlight to try to see who or what was there. I looked around, but I saw nothing immediately, so I decided to go back in. That's when I turned around to climb the stairs, I realized something strange. A small, low figure. I couldn't see her right from where she was, but as soon as I lit up with the light of my cell phone, I saw part of her torso covered with a wide white fabric. What happened next was scary. As soon as the light hit him, he ran. But what left me in shock was the way he moved. That was not human. Speed was superhuman, something impossible for anyone normal. And the most disturbing detail, I didn't see legs. It was as if he simply slid down the floor and disappeared. Now, while I write this, it's already night again. The beats continue. And honestly, I don't want to go out to see what's out there. I will try to take some pictures if it happens again. Thank you for listening. History 5. My attic. So I have an attic door on the ceiling of my closet. Nothing much, right? But lately, this has been terrified. It never bothered me before because I never really noticed her. It has always been there, but it was never something that worried me. However, in recent times, I began to hear noises coming from the walls and especially from the ceiling above me. They may be animals, but they usually do not stay for more than 3 days before they leave. The problem is that this has happened since September 2024. The sounds began as gentle scratches, but evolved to movement, dragging, and beats. Sometimes it looks like something heavy is being pushed, as if someone is sliding a wooden box with their shoulder or hand. They are not very high sounds, but they are persistent, like when you drop a pen or a remote control beside the couch and have to move a little to catch it. The beats are even stranger. It seems that someone is moving something, knocking small objects or beating on the floor unintentionally. I don't hear steps, and thank you for that, but there are times when something heavy is moving up there. This has been extremely uncomfortable, and honestly, I begin to believe that there is someone living or hiding in my attic. Whenever I share it with someone, they call me crazy, but lately, the only way to sleep is to look straight at the attic door. I got used to this so much that I have learned to sleep with semi-open eyes.